On October 1st, 2013, a 29-year-old young man with chestnut hair sits in the corner with his laptop. Judging by his ordinary appearance, dressed in a hoodie, he could have been a student using Wi-Fi in a public library, but not everything is as it seems. His name is Ross Ulbricht, and he is the creator of the largest black market on the Darknet, Silk Road, a business that revolutionized drug trade and generated turnovers of more than $1 billion. Unfortunately for Ross, things around him are also not what they seem. Nearby, a couple is arguing, FBI agents. An Asian woman sitting behind him is also an FBI agent, and the entire library is filled with undercover FBI agents. Their task is to take away his laptop before he can react. If Ross gets suspicious, he might close the laptop, encrypt the information, and destroy months of investigations by the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and the Internal Revenue Service. Prosecutors claim that a diary on his computer contained an entry. The idea was to create a website where people could buy anything anonymously without leaving any traces that could expose them. Unfortunately for Ulbricht, he left behind a trail of digital breadcrumbs that ultimately led to his downfall, bringing down his empire with him. Ross Ulbricht was born on March 27, 1984 in Austin, Texas. He was a Boy Scout and an excellent student. He was one of those who always got straight A's. He even received a full scholarship to study physics at the University of Texas. After earning his degree, he moved to Pennsylvania to get a master's degree in engineering. Around this time, something started to shift inside Ross. He began studying psychedelics and became interested in Eastern philosophy. This coincided with the fact that working in a laboratory was becoming tedious and monotonous, and he started to feel disillusioned with science. In 2009, he returned to Austin with his girlfriend, Julia V., whom he had met in Pennsylvania. Ulbricht needed three things: a website, an initial product, and marketing. One of the most interesting aspects of this story is that Ross was not a programmer by profession. He taught himself to code using YouTube tutorials. The site was launched in February 2011 when Ross was 26 years old. To access Silk Road, you couldn't just type in a regular web address and use a normal browser. Instead, special software called Tor was required. Tor was developed by the U.S. Navy as a way to communicate privately over the internet. The second thing he needed was an initial product to sell online: hallucinogenic mushrooms. He grew them himself in his home. The third was marketing. He went to the Shroomery Forum and wrote a post introducing himself as a customer. I came across this site called Silk Road. It's a hidden service on the Tor network that claims you can buy and sell anything online anonymously. Thinking about buying, but wanted to see if anyone here knows about it and recommends it. This was just spam, but it worked. Soon he sold all the mushrooms he had grown, but real success came when other sellers started using Silk Road to sell their goods. Over time, Silk Road became a marketplace for all kinds of drugs: weed, cocaine, LSD, ecstasy, heroin. This aligned with Ulbricht's libertarian beliefs that whatever someone chooses to put into their body is their own choice, and no one else's, especially not the government's. Ulbricht believed that every person has the right to self-defense. Then, firearms started appearing on Silk Road. To reduce fraud, a rating system for sellers was introduced, similar to Amazon reviews. If a seller sold bad drugs and received low ratings, it hurt their sales. Drugs were delivered by mail with fake return addresses. They were hidden in books and CD/DVD cases. Silk Road charged a commission of 8 to 15% on each transaction, soon bringing in about $25,000 per day. One day, Ross was offered $1 billion for Silk Road by a drug dealer from Puerto Rico, but Ross refused. For me, this is more than a business. It's a revolution, and it's becoming my life's work. What he didn't know was that the buyer was actually an undercover DEA agent named Carl Force. Since the creation of Silk Road, things had been going well for Ross, at least financially. He spent some time in Australia and several Asian countries. However, he was always tense, sat in corners, and dimmed or turned off his screen when someone walked by, so that no one could see what he was actually doing. He chose the administrator named Dread Pirate Roberts from the movie The Princess Bride. The Dread Pirate Roberts wasn't a single person, but a persona passed from one person to another when they handed over the pirate's mask. Choosing this name was a cover. If he was ever caught, if Julia betrayed him, he could claim that he had created Silk Road, but then sold it. In this way, the first Dread Pirate Roberts could have been him, but then he supposedly changed administrators like the pirate mask in the movie. It was a brilliant idea. He felt invincible. 2013, Spanish Fork, Utah. Curtis Green is having breakfast. There's a bottle of Coca-Cola and a couple of donuts on the couch. Two chihuahuas sit beside him. He hears a noise at the door, looks out the window, and sees the mailman running away. He left a package the size of an encyclopedia at the door. Curtis goes outside to pick it up and notices an unmarked white van parked outside his house. Back inside, he locks the door, takes scissors, and cuts open the package. Suddenly, Curtis hears an explosion. The front door crashes down. He turns around and sees a SWAT team. Armed men storm in, knock him to the ground, and arrest him. He has just been caught with a kilogram of cocaine. Curtis Green had registered on Silk Road under the username Chronic Pain. He chose this name because he suffered from chronic pain due to a back injury from work. He decided to use this opportunity to become an amateur pharmacist. On the Silk Road Forum's Health and Well-Being section, Chronic Pain gave advice on safe drug use. Ross took notice of him and offered him a job as a customer support manager. Green agreed. But before hiring him, Ross asked him to send a photo of his driver's license. That way, Curtis would be exposed, while Ross remained in the shadows. Curtis agreed and eventually became one of Silk Road's most loyal employees. The FBI's first major piece of evidence was the IP address of a Silk Road server located in Iceland. The FBI worked with other agencies, and one day, during a meeting, they spoke with IRS agent Gary Alford. Alford found an old forum post on shroomery.org where a user named Altoid had posted spam about Silk Road. He searched for Altoid elsewhere and found a job post on Bitcoin Talk, which listed the contact email rossulbrichtagmail.com. On Stack Overflow, the same email was used under the username Frosty. Eventually, the key to finding Silk Road's creator came not from the FBI's cyber division, but from IRS agent Gary Alford. Now, all that remained was to catch Ross in the act. On October 1st, 2013, at 3:08 p.m., Ross was sitting at a table in the library. Suddenly, an undercover agent posed as a homeless woman and screamed, "Fuck you!" Ross turned to look, and at that moment, an FBI agent grabbed his open laptop. Ross Ulbricht was arrested. His trial began on January 13th, 2015, and lasted 3 weeks. On February 5th, 2015, Ross pleaded for leniency. "I know you must take away my middle years, but please leave me my old age. Please leave me a little light at the end of the tunnel, a reason to stay healthy, a reason to dream of better days ahead." On May 29th, 2015, Ross was sentenced to 2 life sentences plus 40 years in prison. And that's how the legend of Silk Road ended. Like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts. See you next time.